Let's talk about garage heating and your options and alternatives. It's getting cold in Wisconsin. Now that's a nice instant heat, and that's going to help you out immensely out here in the cold, brutal winters of the northern tier states. Let's talk about it. Hey tool tubers, robswrenches. This video goes out to a YouTuber who recently subscribed to me. He goes by the name of Chaince, Chaince, I believe it is. He is doing an engine swap in an Impala, and I take it he just moved into a house that has a garage, so now he has a garage and no longer has to work under the elements. Well, he was making a video on the engine swap, and he was out in the garage, and all he had was a space heater. Now, Chaince hails from Las Vegas, but he now lives in Iowa, so now he's got the winter to put up with. So that spurred me to do a video on, how I heat the garage. My garage is no different than the one that he was working out of. Mine is 21 by 21. It's 2.5 car garage, 8-foot walls, and probably 13 feet. I have a hip roof, so it's probably 13 feet, at the pinnacle, at the apex of this roof. So it's a lot of space to have to heat up. And again, it's not insulated, and I've got, the thing was built in 1921, so there's tons of gaps and, just air infiltration throughout the whole structure. So while I run kerosene and forced air propane or anything like that, I don't have a CO2 detector in here, but again, that's because I have so many doggone gaps, for air to come in. And in the wintertime, you can really feel it, when it's windy out, blustery. So first up on the heating options, and given the size of this space, I use more than one. First and foremost, I use this Remington kerosene forced air heater. This is 40,000 BTUs, and this one is pretty much obsolete now. They have an upgraded model that they sell, which is 45,000 BTUs. It is they're the same design, essentially, except the 45,000 has an on-off switch located here. So you're not solely dependent on, that pigtail of a cord. You can turn it on and off. You can leave it plugged in, and there's a switch to turn it on and off. With this one, you have to unplug the extension cord from, or unplug the heater from the power source to turn it off. When it runs out of fuel, and I try to catch it before, you can audibly hear it. You can hear the pitch change and a lot more vibration in the unit. Once it gets low on fuel and it's about to run out, it'll start to whine, a real tinny pitch, and that'll let you know that, it's just about to teeter out. So when I hear that, I will shut the unit off and then refill it. If, depending on how long it's been running, I won't advise you to do it. It's a risk that I take on my own, but I will fuel it while it's running. I will fuel it live. I don't have that fear of, anything going wrong or anything like that. I'm careful. I'm respectful of what could possibly happen, should anything go wrong. But, I do fuel it live if I catch it, just about to run out of fuel. Let me see. That is 44 or 40,000 BTUs. It has a 3-gallon tank. This one is in need of repair. This is about 13 years old, and the last heating season, last winter, it finally gave up the ghost, and it just wouldn't start anymore, wouldn't kick over, So I'll demonstrate what it does. It'll ignite and then it'll just shut off completely. So let me plug it in and show you what goes on with it. So you plug it in, and then a few seconds later, it'll detect power and try to kick in. Well, it's sat since last winter, so now that's about all I'm getting out of it. I suspect that either the photo cell in there has gone, or the rotor, based on looking at manuals and Googling what typically goes wrong with these. So I'm going to order the parts. I'm going to refurbish this, depending on what the parts cost. If it's more effective to just bump up to the 45,000 with a larger tank, it's got a 5-gallon tank, then I'll do that. But if the parts are cheap enough, then I'll just replace the parts in this one. Other than that, there's nothing really that much wrong with it. The rotors inside are made out of graphite, and they look just like the internals of an impact wrench. It's got the rotor and the vanes that flare out, to push air through. So they're made of graphite, so they're soft and they do wear out. And I suspect that might be the problem of it. But while I'm inside of it, I'll just go ahead and replace that 13-year-old photo cell also, or any other internals that might need replacing. It's just that old. So as long as I'm inside of it, then I'll replace everything. Here we have a Remington. This one is a ceramic heater element propane heater. This one is 18,000 BTUs. It runs on just under 1 pound of hour. It can run up to 24 hours, on the lowest setting, and quite a bit less. Probably about 16 or 18 hours on medium and high. Does work well to heat up a space. This is one that I keep next to where I'm sitting. I smoke cigarettes, so I smoke out here in the garage. So I spend a lot of time out here in the garage. Out here is where I watch football, or whatever happens to be on that I'm watching. So I spend a lot of time out here, and this is where I smoke. I don't smoke in the house anymore. So this one I keep nestled close to me, to feel the radiant heat. The con to this particular style of heater is it's so easy to blow out. You can't use it in any kind of windy conditions. So as soon as you open the door, and there's a strong draft, poof, it'll blow out. It will extinguish the flame. However, it is the fuel shuts off. If the flame is extinguished, it'll cut off the propane flow also. So you're not just wasting, it's not just spitting propane into the air, and the next time you try to light it, there's a big ball of flame or anything like that. So it heats up to 450 square feet. It has a tip-over shut-off switch. It has an oxygen depletion sensor and switch. So if there is a large presence of CO2, it'll shut itself off. It has a high temperature limit cutoff switch also. So if it happens to malfunction and the temperature gets out of control, it will shut itself off. It has also has oh, I mentioned the fuel cutoff. So if the flame is extinguished, it'll kill the regulator. So it doesn't just keep spitting propane out. So that's a plus. Hard to maintain. Another con is it has a thermocouple. So you have to light it. It has a piezo ignition up top, push button start, and you have to hold the pilot light and allow the thermocouple to warm up. This one, I believe the thermocouple has finally gone out. This one is about 4 years old, and I think I need to replace the thermocouple in it. It won't stay lighted, but I can trick it, by holding a flame to it. I can heat that up and, get the temperature, up to snuff, to where it will ignite and stay ignited, but will no longer, ignite by itself. The thermocouple just won't stay lit, so that needs a replacement thermocouple. But I'm less concerned about this one because it is so easy, to extinguish. By far the best heat you're going to get is out of one of these convection heaters. I love these things. I grew up with them, in my childhood. We had these in the house, in rural Tennessee, living out in the country. We ran kerosene heaters. And it's a nice, warm, even, radiant heat, and it doesn't heat the air, it heats everything around it, So this tabletop would absorb the heat, the metal absorbs the heat, it warms everything, nice and evenly. It's a great heat. And the only thing as good as that, is I have hydronic heating in my house, and I just got rid of a bunch of cast iron radiators. But cast iron radiators, do the same thing. They act the same way, It's such a great doggone heat, man, warm, and it's really effective too. I love the convection heat that they kick out. Also on this one, while it heats in 360 degrees, as well as, the heat rising off of it, so when I come out here in the morning, and it's bitter cold or whatever, I'll set my coffee, on top of that, put something under my cup so the cup doesn't, the cup handle doesn't get, too hot to bear. But I keep my coffee hot. Hell, you can even cook on top of one of these heaters. If that cage could stand the weight, it puts out enough heat, for you to, scramble some eggs or make a breakfast or do whatever, So those are one of my favorite heaters. This particular style is a Caro Heat CB2230. It's a 23,500 BTU heater. Again, it heats up in 360 degrees. It's good for extended use, like the Torpedo Heater. This one has a fuel gauge, and once it gets down, just below the 1/4 inch mark, I will refill it while it's actually still going. I try to make sure, that I get it when this is running, and the garage is warm, so the kerosene is warm, but if that's hot and the kerosene is cold, then it tends to, it'll huff and, it'll recognize that the temperature is different. And that's one of the things that, I'm cognizant of, when I'm refilling it. I try to fill it, when the can of kerosene, when my fuel can is nice and warm and toasty, closer to the ambient temperature. I don't do it when it's not when it's really cold or anything like that. It's also a great source of emergency heat. Remember Hurricane Sandy went through, the Northeast, and people were without power for a long time, and that's, was in the fall, late fall, or, I think it was in late fall months, so it was, the temperatures were falling. And you had a lot of people, man, that depended on, these kerosene heaters to get by, to keep their homes warm, until power was restored. This one runs on 2 D-cell batteries. It has a tip-over switch and an automatic shutoff. So once the fuel gets down to empty, it will shut itself off. Now, when it gets to that point, and it shuts itself off, then it spews out a bunch of hydrocarbons. It'll smoke. Same thing with the kerosene heaters too. Once they run out, that last gasp is a big puff. It's just a big puff of smoke. And all of that, your clothes hang onto it, your hair hangs onto it. You go in the house and your wife tells you, "Oh my God, you smell like the freaking garage." Get away from me. So I try to not let them run completely dry until the season's over. Once the season's over, then you want to let the wick, you want to burn the wick until it burns out completely dry, and burn all the carbon and soot and stuff out of it. Well, not the soot, but you want to burn it until it's completely dry, until the next season. There's a term for it. It escapes me right now, but this is essentially what you're doing. It's just burning off the excess kerosene, so it doesn't get sticky. It doesn't dry up, or doesn't ruin it. When you're not using it. This one is about 16 years old, and it also gave up the ghost. I've replaced the wick in this one probably 4 times since I've had it, and the last wick that I put in it 2 seasons ago, used it last season, and it just wouldn't perform well anymore. And of all of them, I haven't replaced the wick in this one yet. I just bought that one like 2 seasons ago, 2 winters ago. So I haven't replaced the wick in that one yet. So I can't speak to the difficulty of replacing the wick in it. These, however, not so much a challenge, but there's so many parts, to take apart, to get to the wick. And then you can't just use any wick in it. There are specific wicks, per model, and there are teeth that hang on to it, so when you're making your adjustments, for the wick to come up just to the right height, it has to be on there, just right, for it to act right. Otherwise, it's going to, cause a bunch of soot, or just not burn properly, or anything like that. But it finally gave up the ghost. I could probably bring it back into service, but it's, again, at its age, it's performed well, and I just as soon retire it and buy a brand new one. So that's my plan. I'll update it. What sucks is this is one of those items, man. The price never moves. These things are made in China and shit, man, and all that, and the price always remains the same, no matter when. It's going to be well over $100. Hell, even when they're doing the season closeouts and whatnot, I've still never seen them, under $100, for this style of heater. So it's just one of those things that never move, never budge. You're going to pay what they ask for them, because hey, do you want heat or not? So they got you. Next, oh no, I did buy this one last year. I take that back, because once this one went out and I wanted to replace it, and then it was in the winter time, so they were at their peak price, and I couldn't find, I didn't want to pay, more than $100 for one. I bought that one for $99 16 years ago, and they've only gone up. And making them in fucking China now, hell, they're probably making them in China then, but why haven't they not gone down? You're not paying the labor costs, you're not paying, any more now than you were paying for them then, but the price has gone up, and that irritates the living daylights out of me. So I bought this one last year. I bought this one at Farm and Fleet. This one is a 10,000 BTU. This particular one is Heatmate. You can buy the same thing, branded as Caro Heat, and you can buy that Caro Heat probably branded as Heatmate. You can buy it. All the brands, are all, they all look identical. They're all from the same plant, just branded differently and priced differently. Same thing with Remington, with the Remington Heaters. They're made by a company called Pinnacle. And if you look online, look at Mystery Heat, look at whatever brand, Dynaglow, they're all the same product. They're all the same doggone product, all coming out of the same plant, and prices will vary, based on your region and what retailer you happen to buy them from, what sale is going on at the time. So this one is a radiant heater, not nearly as effective as this convection heater. This one does not heat in 365 degrees. It has that cylinder, and you have the reflective back, and it just radiates the heat out towards you, and then the heat that it's generating, is flowing up, but it's cool to the touch on top, just barely warm, the back doesn't get hot or anything like that, unlike this one, that thing gets blazing hot all the way around it, and that's why there's that cage all the way around it. Whereas this one, the only heat, the only danger is from the front of it. They are effective. What I do is I use this torpedo heater. When I come out to the garage, I crank this one up, and that'll raise the temperature up to where I want it, get it up to 70 degrees. And in the meantime, I'm running, one or two of these sources of heat, and then once it gets up to a comfortable temperature, then I'll turn off the torpedo because it's loud as all get out, so I'll kill the noise, and the forced air, and then just maintain a constant temperature using any of these, a combination of 1, 2, or 3 depending on the month and the temperature. This one uses a fuel cartridge. There's a tank on the top of the right side of it right here. There's a 1.2 gallon tank that sits inside there, and you pull it out, and fill it up, put the cap back on, sit it back inside. The only drawback to this one is that there's no reservoir inside, so once the kerosene runs out of that cartridge, that's it. Then you got to pull it out and refill it. It won't run in the meantime while you fill the cartridge back up. I would very much like to have a design that held at least, 3 or 4 ounces in the bottom to keep that wick wet while the canister or the cartridge was being refilled. Then that one could keep going, and then replace the cartridge. This one I bought on sale at Farm and Fleet for $89 end of season, and it is currently on sale. I think it's a different brand. I think it's a Caro Heat branded. It's going for $146 at Lowe's right now online. $146, and it does not put out the heat that the convection does, So man, they kill me because they got you, do you want heat or not? So you're gonna pay. And lastly is the tank top heater. This one I got at Menards. This is I think this is a Dynaglow. I think that was the brand of this one. Oh no, correction. That one there is from Harbor Freight with the leg on it that sits on the tank. No, I take that back. No, this is the Dynaglow that has the leg on it. The one from Harbor Freight doesn't. exact same thing. No matter what brand you buy of these, they're all coming from Pinnacle. Just like, the Torpedo Heaters and that ceramic propane heater. Pinnacle makes them all, for whatever company wants to brand them. And same thing there. The one you buy from Harbor Freight, get it from Harbor Freight. They're a lot cheaper. They do the same thing. The only differences between this one and the one I bought from Harbor Freight is that one has that little leg that will sit down on top of the propane tank, to stabilize it so it doesn't wobble and tip. It has a tip over protection, so if it angles, so much, there's a weighted ball inside that will trip it, and turn off the flow of the fuel, and it will kill it, and then you won't be able to reignite it until you turn it at just enough angle so that it'll reset itself. You will hear the ball inside of it and the switch, once you turn it, click, and then you turn it back up, and then it has reset itself, and then you'll be able to reignite it. On the left side there's a hole. I have a barbecue lighter, the long steel stem lighter. That's what the hole is designed for you to light it from the side so your face or any of your body is not directly in front of it. You light it from the side. Well, I don't bother with all that. I still light it from the front. It's the most direct, point to. I light it from the bottom. I stick my barbecue lighter under there, and that's the closest point where the fuel flow is. And then I ignite it. You got a hole, there's a little red button there. If you're not familiar with a tank top lighter, so you hold that red button there until the sunflower, the screen, is glowing red hot. And once that reaches operating temperature, then you can let the button go and it will remain ignited. So these are what I use to heat the garage with. It has gotten to be that time of year. Oh, and I also have a space heater running back there. I keep that one on the floor, for Shyla. So when she's sitting down, if she gets cool, she's running out to go use the bathroom or something like that, then she has a heater to go sit by and warm back up. If one of these others are out. So these are what I use to keep the garage warm. And once I make the repairs on this one, once I get the parts in, I'll do a video on bringing this sucker back up to snuff. And hell, maybe even that one at some point. I'm not as enthused about that one. Freaking thermocouples. I got you, man. But at any rate, Chaince. These are some of the items, man, that's going to get you better results, man, and keep you warm when you're out there working in the wintertime, in Iowa. It's going to get cold there, and a space heater just isn't going to cut it, especially in an uninsulated garage. So, oh, and look, be careful about these. I had a leg of my coveralls, go up in flames, oily covered, and was passing by it, stood right next to it, and then put out enough heat, with enough oil and, petroleum products, in my coveralls that it caught fire. I didn't catch it, until I, the hell, smelling something, and my leg got warm and looked back, and holy shit, man, I'm about on fire, So that's something, that's the risk of, that open design there. But be mindful of it, be aware of it, respect it, and you'll be fine. I'm still here, no third-degree burns. All right, guys, this is Tool Tubers. Wintertime is just about upon us. Just wanted to put this out here for Chaince. Hey, man, stay warm and keep doing what you're doing. Robswrenches out.